Hey everyone, what's up? I'm here with the sophisticated man. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good, brother. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
yeah, always a blast, man. And yeah, this is going to be our last show together for the year, and then we'll have
No,
to. I know, no,
no,
it's so devastating. I'm going to cry right now. But
it's
I think,
crazy.
yeah, I have to say though, before we start the show, it's been an honor just to have you on, the channel and just discussing stuff. Really think we've, helped out a lot of guys who, catch us on the live stream or off the live stream. And yeah, I really look forward to continuing on doing this more with you next year and everything.
Yeah, man. Of course, it's my pleasure being on here and sharing some value and just giving guys some good advice and just talking about our experiences. I think it's really valuable.
Right, exactly, and that's true. And that's why we're here to help you guys out so you can just level up and kick ass in life, when it comes to your dating, your mindset, just goal setting, and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
what we wanted to talk to you about is why most men get confused when it comes to women. And we had talked about this at the end of our last show that a lot of these a lot of guys will come across a lot of content up there on YouTube and stuff like they'll do about the red peak, our pillow content, the MGTOW content, RSD and the game, Neil Strauss and all that stuff. And like, we were saying how, a lot of, and sure, a lot of that stuff has of its own value to it that really helps men. But at the same time, like, it can be a distraction and confuse them too, if they're, especially if they're working to better their dating life and, go out on dates, be more confident around women and stuff. What do you have to say to get the ball rolling on this show?
hmm Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think that there's a lot of resources out there for guys. Like you were saying, Red Pill community, MGTOW. There's really all these like different movements out there and stuff like that. And I've actually had conversations with guys before who tell me like, man, there's so much information out there and I just don't know what is the right thing for me to do. Like what does it really mean to be my best version? Like what is an ideal woman for myself? What kind of life should I really be living? And they get all this advice from these different creators. And I can see how that information overload sometimes can be a little confusing and they might not know what the best route to take just because there's so much out there. So I think it can in one side it can be helpful if you're trying to learn a specific thing or you want to I think achieve a certain result. But if you're watching everything at once, and you can really apply this to anything, over information is not always a good thing. It could be very confusing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, I think that's, when I first started on this journey, like, I'm not saying like, the content stuff is bad. I think it's very helpful. But
hmm
my problem was like, I would just like go from content creator, like there are probably like 15, 20, 30 people I'd follow and everything. And
hmm
I think a lot of the stuff they presented, like they really gave some good advice that would like help you guys get started. But at the same time, some of that what they're talking about is they kind of, some of it kind of blinds you. Like, they kind of, blame women for the problem instead of like looking to themselves. And I think, that made
hmm
me help. That was like kind of like a sticking point for me because when you come across content that kind of puts the blame on women and has all these content like creation type thing, words that you want to call them, like hypergamy, high value and stuff. I think, I mean, a lot of that's good, but at the same time though, like if some people read into it too much, like they don't think that they can go about like having women. And
hmm
like especially when some of the there's a lot of stuff on there that says that like they blame like all women are wild and stuff like that, and they're in that can really get misconstrued because like I think that it more builds like the hatred and frustration towards the women and keeping the guy from focusing on himself and everything.
hmm Yeah, I would agree with that. I was just talking to some guy the other day, one of my viewers, and he was saying how he watched a lot of red pill content for a long time, and he kind of fell into the I guess what they call red pill rage is like when you consume all this like content for so long, and
Hmm.
you eventually resent women to a certain degree, and you kind of once you understand about female nature and what you understand about like femininity and all that, you kind of view it in a negative way. You almost get mad at women for being the way that they are, or for the things that sometimes happen. And
Hmm.
I love the comment here that Riley was making. He says, you just take the bits and pieces of advice from different people and apply it to your situation. And I think that's a great solution, for a lot of this misinformation and what's out there. It's like you just take bits and pieces, and if it resonates with you, it resonates with you and it makes sense for, your life. But if it doesn't, you don't have to, you don't have to take that advice. You don't have to go down that route that they're talking about if it doesn't make sense for you. So I would really take a lot of time to discern what is important and what isn't, what doesn't apply to your life, what does, and just pick and choose because, like we're talking about, there's a ton of stuff out here, and the best thing you can do is really just cut through some of the stuff that isn't going to really help you move forward.
Hmm. Right, exactly. And like so, and that's what I kind of did. Like, when I was first starting to like want to become social with women, I would go on like these RSD websites and stuff, and I'd
Hmm.
imitate some of their infields, and like they'd go out and say stupid shit and everything. Like,
Yeah.
you go on there, like especially mystery method. Like I did a lot of that at first.
Hmm.
Like I go do like do the neg. They call it the neg, where you have to make a negative comment to like put yourself out, put the woman off the pedestal and everything.
Hmm.
Um, and I started doing a little bit of that, but I realized that like you did like I don't maybe I was doing it the wrong way, but it really got me nowhere. And like sure, even some of the openers that I've learned from there, like it got me at least to like just open a girl, but I didn't know how, had the confidence that or the communication skills to have an actual conversation with a woman. And
Hmm.
but no, but I think too, like you can look at it as like a stepping stone to get you started, but you just
Sure.
can't let it consume you because like I think yeah eventually the where you actually want to get with your mindset is where you're that confident guy and to be natural and authentic.
Hmm.
And I think this when you watch too much content, well, and I agree with what Riley said, yeah, just you know um, take bits and pieces and apply it to your life and see what works to you. No, that's good because that's eventually how I did it. But from there, you want to develop your own authenticity from that rather than just constantly using it. And you got to like be able to like, and I'm talking just with the content creators that you see on YouTube, but you got to be able to like take the information that they're saying and figure out, okay, well, is this changing my perspective on things? Is this making
Hmm.
me angry towards someone? Like, 'cause there was a lot of that RP stuff that at one point, like, I just thought, like, okay, I didn't have the value to have a woman because I'm still not at the high value status that I want yet, or I don't,
Hmm.
I always thought about, well, the girl I'm with, is she gonna leave me for someone better and stuff? And especially like there were some people just like talked a lot about like feminism and stuff, and it just made and when I heard that stuff, it just made me like afraid to talk to girls because I'm worried. Okay, well, this is preaching. Well, you can get harassed or you're me too, just if you go up and
Hmm.
talk to a girl. So eventually, I just had to like figure out okay which content creators did I want to more resonated with what I wanted to do and were not kind of affecting me in a negative way. And that's what I think we
Hmm.
have to do. Like the same thing goes for like not just with your content creators, but the friends that you hang out with and the stuff that you watch on television, because that can change your perspective on things too. We're not just talking about content creators on like YouTube, but just your surroundings in general.
Hmm. Yeah, you bring up a great point. It's not just YouTube. It's really any forms of media like TV, movies, the news, songs that you listen to, books that you read, like anything that you're consuming really has an effect on your perception and your mindset. So like it's really important that the things you are consuming is going to help you in a positive way and make you feel better about yourself when you're done, because if you're always looking at negative content or things that are maybe getting you angry, getting you just fired up, it's not always going to be beneficial for you. So it's really important to like be very selective with the things that you are consuming, media, videos, like Robert's saying, the friends that you hang around, the people that you surround yourself with, conversations that you guys have, all that stuff really, whether you know it or not, is subconsciously like locked in, and sometimes that can have an effect on you later on.
Hmm. Right, exactly. And yeah, you just got to be able to distinguish like what information is going to be good for you and what information is going to be bad for you.
Hmm.
And I mean, yeah, some of the stuff you find out, you might have an aha moment and it might lead to a little rage or whatever. But I mean, in the end, you have to control that because, like, I think if you don't control that, you're just going to put the blame on other people instead of focusing on how you can become a better guy. And
Hmm.
that's what I had to realize at one point. Because like when I had that awareness where okay, this some of the stuff that I'm watching or people I'm hanging out with, it's just they're not having a positive effect on me or influencing me in a positive way. I had to learn either to cut back on that material or just like see those people less. Because like I think because I just didn't I realized that when I was just after like we were talking about like having a time of meditation where you just kind of go out and walk by yourself and you're thinking about okay, now why am I still having this issue with talking to women, and then you kind of run by everything that you hear. I'm like, oh well, yeah, because I keep listening to this content. They're just making women
Hmm.
seem mad and then they seem like it's afraid to talk. If you go to a woman, you're going to get in trouble. And that
Hmm.
just affects me from becoming more confident.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, breaking it down even further, like from a psychological standpoint, I think they call that confirmation bias. Because if you're constantly watching content, let's say, for example, you watch a lot of content that says women only like really muscular, tall guys who are jerks or whatever. If you're constantly listening to that stuff, then you're gonna implant that in your mind to think, well, I'm not good enough. Like it's not gonna work for me, no matter what I say or what I do. And like you're gonna go out there and you're not gonna be confident. You're gonna be maybe even resentful in a way. It's gonna come off like aggressive and just bitter because you think that's the truth. You accepted that as truth, and you're basically going to run into nothing but women who kind of confirm that bias that you have, or confirm that
Mm-hmm.
like that thought process that you're stuck on. But if you change your mindset, then you'll notice that like you'll find different opportunities. You'll find different kind of people out there that are more open to it. It's like if you see when you're buying a new car, right? And you're really focused on, oh, this new white Kia that I'm gonna buy. I'm really focused on that, and you start noticing that car on the road all the time. Well, it's not because that car was never there. It was because now you're paying attention to it. Your mindset is focused around it, and you start seeing it more. And I think you can really apply that to dating with women, or just in success opportunities. These things start showing up the more you focus on them.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying though is like, so if you're gonna type of guy who's gonna focus on have thoughts that like women, I can't attract women because I don't have this amount of money or I'm not strong enough or I don't have confidence. Do you
Hmm.
think the more they continue to think about that, they're gonna those experiences are gonna come about in the real life because they're just kind of manifesting that? You thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you constantly believe that about yourself, and you focus on just that type of thing, then you're gonna be introduced to women, to opportunities, to things in life that really confirm what you believe. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give another example. Like, if I believe that all women are bitchy and just like not good conversationalists, you can't talk to them, they're always whatever, bossy or something, then I'm probably going to manifest that into my life. And like there's going to be women that I meet that are going to confirm that bias, that I'm only going to find women who are bossy, who do talk like that. um and it's that confirmation bias and really into play. But if you change your mindset and you start to think, oh well, women are actually open to talking to me, they are easygoing, they're comfortable around me, I'm comfortable around them, then you start to attract that kind of reality to you. So I think a lot of it really
Right.
starts in your mind.
Yeah, I like what Riley is saying here. The thing you can do is change what you control and focus on
Yeah,
that. I like that.
that's true.
And actually, I'm doing a show with Riley on Wednesday for the first time. Like someone, my mentor referred me. He said I should go on with him. I saw some of the stuff, so I get some. I'm calling you tomorrow, Riley, over Instagram. I can already know some ideas for our show, man. It seems like you know your shit. But no,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true.
Like I think that you gotta have like the it's what you focus on, but the hardest part is though, like, no, what would you say, you're focusing on manifesting something in your life and yet you're still continuing to produce the same result? Like, what do you think is
Mm,
caused that? Is that because you don't have a strong belief that is possible, or that it's because you got to go through the trials and errors in order to? What do you think's caused that? Because that,
mm-hmm.
that will happen sometimes. Like,
Sure.
you can tell someone to go change their mindset. They go to work on it, and yet they're still not getting the results that they want. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, do you think that's because they still are holding those beliefs in their head, or?
Potentially that could be it. Maybe they're still subconsciously still believing that, or maybe they just haven't, gotten enough small victories on the way to feel like they're building momentum along that route. But it could also be too that maybe they're not taking the right action. Maybe they're taking action, but it's not ideal yet. It's not really gonna produce them the best results. And it's like the saying goes, like it's not so much practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect. So it's potentially just like you might not be doing the right things yet because maybe there's a knowledge gap, there's a skill gap, there's an experience gap, whatever it is. Potentially there's
No,
still
I
doing
like
the
that.
same mistakes. Um, but again, you got to bring it back to awareness because the more that you're aware of these things, it's not always going to be an issue forever if you just pay attention to it.
Hmm. I like what we said there. Yeah, like, I think too, and we mentioned this before. Like, it's all like just a learning experience. Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna go out there, take the action. You're gonna have that awareness as,
Hmm.
okay, is this working out for me? What can I do differently? Am I still acting, and do I still get the same emotion every time I'm doing this or that?
Hmm.
Is this what I'm doing actually working? But
Right.
this is like, I know I'm being this repetitive here, but that, like, Albert Einstein says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing
Right.
every time and just like not trying anything new. I think we
Hmm.
kind of get stuck in those little time gaps where we're just continuing to do the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it just becomes second nature if you do it so often and it becomes comfortable. You think, well, I'm just going to keep doing it because I'm used to it at that point. But sometimes you need to stretch yourself and you need to shake it up. Like you said, just do things differently and try a new approach out or try a new business adventure out or a new idea and see if that benefits you. So a lot of it's just trial and error.
Hmm. Right. No, and that's true, man. It's just all like trial and error, which is good. And we just gotta just I guess that's we gotta focus on producing that.
Hmm. That's right.
But getting back to the topic here of why men are confused about women, would you say there's any other stuff besides, like, the media surroundings? Do you think it's this lack of experience too with women
Hmm.
and they get confused?
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Lack of experience, I think also just lack of positive experiences really play into that because if you have only done so many approaches or if you've only had so many interactions with women and they've all been negative and they've all like never really worked out, you're going to think to yourself, well, this is how it's always going to be and I don't really know how, what am I going to do that's right. So I think it depends too on just like your reference experiences and if you've always had negative experiences, that's gonna maybe play into your mindset a little bit and keep you there for a while because you're
Hmm.
thinking that, oh well, it's never worked out for me up to this point. Like, what do I do from here?
Hmm. Well, I think another thing, but when I was before I just really started being more social with women and stuff, and just dating in general, was just my lack of knowledge and experience. Like
Mhm.
I didn't go out there and like talk to women as much. I used to like go out and be like drunk and stuff and talk to girls, and like I was always
Yep.
like, but when I started to go out there and just be more social with other people, going on more dates and realizing, well, hey, I don't have to be a certain way just to, you know, please a woman. Like I don't have to like act all nice and stuff. I can be sexual, and as long as the woman agrees to be sexual, I don't
Right.
like, it's so weird. I look at where I was 4 years ago, and when I go out on dates and stuff, I never would think to like, take a girl home on the first day. I always had to do like a couple more dates, and I was
Mhm.
afraid to like, escalate sexually with a woman.
Mhm.
And then it took me some time to do that, and and I realized like the more I had, more interactions I went on, the more experiences I've had going on dates. I felt comfortable trying new things, and it made me, and I can tell like now if a woman's going to be a waste of my time or not, like just like on the first date, and I'm comfortable like on a first date, sexually escalating with the girl, and if I have to, I would take her back to my place.
Mhm.
um, but before then, like I would didn't have that like skill set, but it all came with this kind of working with some mentors who kind of pushed me to break out of my comfort zone and taking the responsibility to do the proper actions that were necessary
Mhm.
to do that. And yeah, and I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning stuff like these, to this day. I'm not, but I'm just saying, like I think like what confuse guys too is because they hear all this stuff from the media, from the parents, from the religion and stuff. They
Mhm.
kind of like you know keeps them from realizing that they can like they don't they feel that to be this false person to attract a woman, and then
Mhm.
that keeps them, and that can be a turnoff. Like especially remember we did our show, when how guys kind of like when they look at the movies and stuff, and they believe that's how like romance should be and stuff, and then
Yeah.
they actually go out there and they like give girls flowers or buy them lots of things,
Mhm.
um, and they think that's the way to like get a woman to like them. Like that it's you're blinding that, and the woman really doesn't like that stuff. Well, even
Mhm.
some do. I'm just saying, but like not on a first date, or not when you're kind of super needy about that.
Right. Yeah, it's like guys sometimes do that because they see it in movies or they hear it in songs and they think, "Oh, well, if I just do the same thing, then a girl's gonna be all over me." And the reality is, like you said in the beginning, girls don't want to get that kind of treatment from a dude that she like knows nothing about, and if you guys don't have a connection, she hardly knows you. It just comes off as very like disingenuine, and she's probably going to think, okay, wow, he's just doing this because he wants to sleep with me or he wants to like do something like that. um it's not the greatest thing to do in the beginning, and Mark Manson talks a lot about this in his book Models. He's saying like,
Okay.
I think he calls it like performance. When you're doing something because you saw, it worked in a TV, it worked in a TV show or it worked on YouTube. This guy said this and he got a good result. How come when I say it, it doesn't work? It's like, well, that's the problem right there. It's like you're doing it because you think that action is going to work, or you're performing and you're not really being your true self. It's not the
Right.
real you. You're not being authentic. And women pick up on that. They're going to know if you're being genuine or not.
Hmm. Right. No, that's true, man. Like, I mean, you can go out there and just mimic what you'd see on TV or what you learn from someone, but it's not gonna.
Mhm.
You're right. I think, like, seeing that, I realized that too. Just kind of like my mentor, like when who I first worked with, when he come, tell me to go have interactions with them, and he told me to like, either be direct or use an observation opener, and
Mhm.
then kind of talk about the job. And that's what I constantly do is talk about that. And you got to learn to kind of like use that as a foundation to develop your own inner like game where you can just go out. You can use some of the principles that the mentor teaches you, but you have
Mhm.
to work, develop your authenticity. Like one guy I'm working with, one of my mentors now, Steve the Dean, like he always teaches guys to like rehearse, so he gives them something to start with, but you kind of rehearse and rebuild certain things, like and make it more. lean, your approach to a woman more built lean towards your type of way of doing it, however you want to say it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, eventually, like, you kind of create your own style and you have your own, your energy level and your charisma, your confidence is eventually all going to be just like very authentic to you. I mean, obviously, like the way I approach women, the way I talk to women, the way Rob here talks to women, it's going to be different than the way you do it and the way you try it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have our own unique flavor to it, and that's the beautiful thing. Like we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, and I think the best thing that you can do if you want to improve your dating life, and I mean honestly, anything in your life, you really want to improve anything, you focus on the strengths, you double down on those, and you look at some of your own weaknesses and figure out, all right, what do I have to do to work on these things and to potentially turn those things into a strength.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think that's like can blind us. We fail to realize that. Like
Hmm.
I really never. I just thought, well, I'm just it's like you mentioned earlier, and like I was just saying, I this person told me to go out and have that interaction with the person this way,
Hmm.
and so I just continued on doing that, and but then I failed like to realize that you got to eventually like build upon it and figure out your own way because everyone is unique in their own way when it comes to the way they interact with others, and I think that we have to take the time to discover that because once you kind of take the time to discover like who you are as a man and like some of your strengths and weaknesses, like you can use that not just when it comes to interacting with women, but if you're working out a business deal, like do it for your business,
Hmm.
just starting up a business and like developing your lifestyle. And
Hmm.
like I just think sometimes like we just don't take time to really get to know who we are, and we like we do, and we rely on what we get from books and everything, and we get very frustrated when books or certain pieces of content are not working,
Hmm.
and we you know just feel like giving up. But really, we should. Though I'm not saying that's bad, but I mean, it's like a stepping stone to get you moving in the right direction. But you have
Hmm.
to figure out your own way of doing it and your own way of like spicing it up, if you know what I'm saying. And I think
Hmm.
we just failed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think like, going off that example, you could get the best pickup line ever. And it really sounds funny, charismatic, and confident. You can get that great line, or you can get a really awesome sales script that's maybe closed hundreds of clients and worked for other people. But
Hmm.
if you don't fully believe in what you're saying and if it's not coming from an authentic place, then most of the time it's you could say whatever line it is, but it's not. Eventually you're gonna have to like think on your feet and like do what comes natural. Because even if it worked for somebody else, it might not always work for you. You got to find your unique style. And that's like you're saying, it really applies to anything: business, relationships with women, you know, business associates, really anything, really any type of like social interaction. You got to find your style and what works for you.
Hmm. I like what Riley just said here. He said it's the same message but said differently.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, so you're kind of doing the same process, but you're just finding your own way to refine that. And I think
Hmm.
that's what we really got to do. I think you know, and I think that's how we can become more stronger as guys when it comes to our confidence and our communication skills with women, just by taking the time to think about our strengths and putting that out in the real world, and like you're saying, fine tuning everything
Hmm.
to the point where you're going out there and taking the action, and then you're learning and you're seeing what's working and what's not working.
Hmm.
And like, I mean, even too, when you're first going out trying things, you get a little nervous because you're like, oh, this isn't going to work. But the more you do it, you don't give a damn. You're more confident when you do it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah, and I love that point you just brought up. I mean, the less that you care about what other people are going to think about it, and the less you care what the girl's going to think, or what your potential client's going to think, or whoever, you just have a different level of confidence at that point. Like when you're fully just believing in yourself and like what you have to offer, what kind of guy you are, where you're heading in life. You know what you bring to the table. It's a different interaction when you just know your worth and you know what makes you unique.
Right. And see that's another thing too. Like I mean, just being on this journey too. That's one realization I had too. You mentioned about worth and stuff, but I think
Hmm.
like a lot of guys who see other guys with attractive women or have lots of money, they just don't feel like they could have it. They feel like worthless, and they don't deserve that,
Hmm.
and therefore they're going to continue to project it. And I realized that at one point too, I had to realize that I have worth that I can actually go out and do it. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I go out there and I'm not having a good time, I do kind of feel worthless. But I mean, I get up. I mean, it's just all a part of a process. But
Hmm.
no, but that's the worth. Just like the way you look at yourself and the way you see yourself and moving, what you can accomplish. I mean, that kind of determines like where you're going to end up. And it goes again with the focusing on what it is, that you can focusing on having that instead of not
Hmm.
having.
Hmm. Yeah, and that really takes you really far. Like when you know what you're worth and you know what you deserve in life. I mean, you start to treat yourself as such. You start to really set these certain standards. You have certain beliefs and certain values that you have. Um, when you really solidify like what it is that you want out of life, and you know what kind of guy you are, where you're heading. um, and like you were saying, I mean, it can get sometimes problematic when you see a guy who's like a lot taller than you, maybe a lot more muscular, like he's a lot more successful potentially, has higher status. You see him getting all these results, and you're like, man, like why am I not there yet? Like this sucks. I wish I could have similar results, but that can get you into trouble because that comparison is always going to make you feel like you're not doing enough. And that was a big issue for me. Like I would compare myself to like other YouTubers, other coaches, other men out there, and I'm like, like I'm not even close to their level. Um, it really can fuck you up because you're trying to compare yourself to basically somebody else's timeline, someone else's journey, when really
Hmm.
you got to realize like you're on your own path. Like don't worry about what other people are doing. Just focus on like being better than you were yesterday or last week or last month. It's always you versus you. It's not it's not you versus somebody else and what they're doing. Like you got to just focus on your process.
Hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's another reason why men. It's a good golden nugget as to why men can get confused about women in other areas
Yeah,
of their life because like they're focused. And I'm guilty of that too sometimes,
sure.
man. I try when I catch myself when I do it, but yeah, I realize that I'm like, that's not. I look at other people, I'm like, well, God, I can't believe this person has it. Like this guy's not even as attractive as I am, and he's got like a
Hmm.
super hot chick, or this I wish I had this like nice car or something, or
Hmm.
had this or that, or I wish I was kind of super tall, and I like this person. And yeah, that could really, sidetrack you as well. It's like comparing yourself to
Hmm.
other people because like you're focusing on that instead of focusing on yourself. And that
Right.
just really fucks you up.
Yeah, comparison really, it can be the death of self-growth because you eventually like you look at somebody else so much and you compare yourself so much that it just becomes like very toxic. It could become very negative, and you start to doubt yourself. You start to think that, well, I'll never do that, or my results aren't even close to what this guy can do. It never really is a good place to be. I've been there too. I
Hmm.
mean, I think we've all kind of been there at one point where we've compared ourselves and we've looked at somebody else's success and thought, "Holy crap! Like I'm nowhere close to that," or whatever the case is.
Hmm.
And it's just a toxic place to be. It can really mess you up mentally. Um, I always like to say that when you see somebody who's maybe a lot further along or more successful than you, I think a better thing to do is to just be inspired by that and say, okay,
Hmm.
this person did this. Obviously, I have the ability too. If they can do it, I can do the same thing. Like, what do I have to put in my life? What steps do I have to put in my process to get a similar result or kind of have similar success as this person does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so instead of being jealous, because that's really what it comes down to, is that jealousy is feeling like, I wish I had what this person had, and that envy can really like mess you up. Use it
Mm-hmm.
as inspiration and think, okay, well, this person did it, I could do it too. It's very doable for you, and just kind of learn from that person's mistakes and figure out what did they have to do and trying to refine that into what you're doing.
Right. No, I agree with you on that because I think, yeah, I think we fail to realize that that other person, like they put in like a lot
Hmm.
of time and hard work to get to where they're at. I mean, some people do have the over, depending on where they come from, or their experience. Yeah, they will. It's a little easier for them, but you got to keep in mind too that that person too probably at one point was like comparing themselves to other people and
Right.
frustrated like we were, but then learned how to figure it out by seeing like what the other people were doing and and develop the proper systems to get there. I want to ask you something though. Why do you think
Hmm.
like we compare ourselves to other people? Is this a kind of a form of validation, or like why do you think like when we see someone we feel we gotta be like this person, or we gotta if we don't have what they have we get all frustrated? Is it because we just are just focused on not ourselves and just focusing on that other person's success?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe a few things and few reasons why that happens. I can speak for me personally. Like sometimes when I do that, I notice it's because deep down, like I don't feel like I'm good enough, or like having a low sense of, self worth, a low sense of um, validation, even in self validation, like knowing that I don't need anybody's approval. Um, I think anytime you compare yourself and kind of look at someone's situation and feel jealousy, it's because deep down you want to have that, but you don't think you can actually get there. You start to doubt yourself, and that causes jealousy. That causes you to be like, "Oh, screw him, fuck him." Like I don't. He's whatever. Like you create some kind of story in your mind of why you don't have that or why this person has it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at the end of the day, it comes down to you don't believe you can get those kind of results in your life, so you start to hate on that person or just think like, oh, whatever it was handed to them. And that's a great point that you were bringing up too earlier. Like we don't see the work that was put in for that person to achieve the life that they have. Obviously, some people are given a lot of things. Some people had a lot of support and help along the way, but we fail to see that grind that they had to do, or that a lot of inner work that no one wants to look at, that was
Mm-hmm.
done in order to achieve that kind of success. It's really hard to be an overnight success. We just see the results. We don't see the work that was put in beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's true. Yeah, and yeah, that's true. I really think that's like a major cause that we just fail to see all
Hmm.
that stuff, and we just gotta like figure it. Like if you gotta say to yourself, well, hey, this person can do it, I can do it. Like despite
Hmm.
my circumstances, and it's
Yep.
all like a mindset thing. If your mindset is not in the right fucking place, like you're just gonna like not you're not gonna produce those results that you want. And you got to get to
Hmm.
that point in your mindset where you can do that and everything.
Hmm. Yeah, really, it all comes down to belief in yourself and knowing that if somebody is really successful in some area, just knowing that you can do the same thing and feeling like, all right, well, this person did it. What's the reason that I can't do it? I could do the same thing. Um, and just believing that you can make it happen as long as you have that mindset about it, and as long as you have I would say a commitment to like a commitment to achieving that goal, achieving that lifestyle, then you can make it happen just as easily as someone else did.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And now, another thing I want to, touch base on too is this, like, so, like we talked about this earlier, but like, who you surround yourself with too can also cause you confusion with women, or if you're working on other goals in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had some friends when I told them I was going on these when I actually went to a boot camp. I think I mentioned this to you
Mm-hmm.
before, like in Las Vegas for like an RSD a long time ago. And they're like, "Well, you can't get those type of girls." They're saying to me, "Well, you're too quiet. You don't do anything. You're not going to get the right type of girls."
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you have your friends kind of influencing, or your family saying, "Well, you tell them you want to start like like your own business and everything." You're like, "Well, that costs a lot of money," well, and that could also have an effect on your mindset as well, depending on how you handle that.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Like if you're surrounded by a bunch of people that doubt what you're doing, or they don't have their lifestyle where they want it to be, they have a lot of limiting beliefs, they're very negative people to be around, and that's going to rub off on you, and you're going to start to think the same way. You're going to say, shit, man, maybe they're right. Maybe my friends are right. Like maybe I can't be successful. Maybe I can't achieve my dreams. And it's because they haven't done it. So they want to basically misery. That's like the saying goes, like misery loves company. Like they want to keep you in the same boat. They don't want to see you be successful, because that is a reflection of all the things that they have failed to do, in their lives. So your environment is huge. It plays a big role in your mentality, and the influences like the things that you want to do in life, and your ability to push past your own barriers and everything. It's massive, and I don't think enough people understand, like, you have the ability to change your friend group, your people that you surround yourself with, at any point. Like you don't have to stay
Hmm.
friends with the same people. Um, that you've been friends with since, childhood or high school or something. You can leave. There's nothing tying you to that person. But I think
Hmm.
sometimes people fall into that trap of staying friends because they just, it's familiar to them, and they don't know any better. But, you can leave when they don't serve you anymore, when they're being, a negative influence.
Right. Yeah, and it can be hard sometimes to have to do that because I mean, some
Yeah.
people. I mean, you could have been knowing someone for a while and stuff. I mean, there were a few people I met like within the past couple of years who I cut ties with, just because like we weren't on the same page. It's more of
Hmm.
like more of like they didn't really like say I couldn't do anything, but it's just
Hmm.
like I was on one path with the way I was handling things, and they were doing it a different way, and it just didn't coincide. When I first met the person was being very legit, but then like after a while, it just started not just kind of disrespecting me, and
Hmm.
like I just had to be comfortable with saying, "Oh, hey, I just don't want to deal with these people anymore." But that can be
Hmm.
hard for someone though who may not really have that many friends, and they rely on that social, just being social. But like you were saying, you got to learn how to just be independent and not
Hmm.
rely on other people. I mean, and that's one of the cool things I've liked about doing this, like just kind of going out there and learning how to be a better communicator and be more social with people. Was that it allowed me, if I didn't have to go out with my friends in order to be social, I can just go out and be social with anyone, or even if I
Hmm.
didn't want to. I mean, I have my nights too where I'm just like super tired or had a long week, and like I'll just say like I can just be comfortable with not really being around people. But I think some people though they just rely on their people just to keep them company. If you know what I'm saying, and so they'll
Hmm.
with that disrespect.
Yeah, 100%. They almost tie they tie their relationships with their friends and stuff directly to their self-worth, and they think that, okay, well, whatever these people say about me, it has to be true because they know me the best, or they value their opinions more than they value their own opinion. um so it really has a huge effect on you. And I had a similar experience growing up too, where I had some friends that wanted, one in particular. I had a friend who, he was going down a path that really I didn't want to go down. He was experimenting with drugs and like partying, and just had a lot
Hmm.
of bad decisions that he was making. And I had to make a decision in my life, like, did I want to keep this guy around even though he's been a great friend to me for, a number of years, or do I want to better myself and, be around more positive people, people that are going to encourage me, people that are going to support me, people that have dreams and aspirations, and it's a tough decision. It's never easy to cut someone off or to, limit your time with them. But, at the end of the day, you have to realize, like, is it worth the mental and emotional, abuse basically of being around this person? Or do you really want to better your lifestyle and, put yourself around people that really are going to support you and you can support them? So it really comes down to just knowing what you want and knowing the kind of lifestyle that you're after.
Right, that's true. No, it's a funny thing because like I had a friend too. Like we go out when I first moved here to Arizona. We go out all the time. We go talk to girls and stuff.
Hmm.
And we we went. He dragged me along to the RSD stuff. I thought it was cool. I went on a boot camp with him. It was cool. And but yeah, just like after that, just kind of went down a different path. Like
Hmm.
I was kind of like avoiding the RSD stuff at the time, because like the guy I was working with taught me to, just avoid all that stuff because it's like not, going to help you be authentic. And and I was actually going out there every day and talking just not just women but to everyone. I was becoming more social. But then there's a point too where like so this guy would want to he got into doing cocaine and he was going to the strip clubs and he was bringing cocaine to the strip clubs trying to
Mm.
pick up strippers with cocaine. And like that's all he wanted to do like on the
Jeez.
weekends was go to the strip club. And I'm like, I'm not. I mean, and I love strip clubs. I'll go once in a blue moon because I mean,
Mhm.
God, it's like a very exotic. I love seeing the strippers in the lingerie. Then they take it out the lingerie and they got the nice tits. These are the gorgeous ladies.
Uh-huh.
But no, he really wanted to like go. That's all he had wanted to do, and I wanted to go out there and just be more social and interact with people and meet women that way. And
Mhm.
so, but and eventually got to the point too. Like I go out to the club, and then at the last minute, this happened like several times. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to go to the strip club," and I just said, "All right, man, enough's enough." Just we're going down a different path.
Yeah.
And it sucks because like at first though, he's a good support. It was a good to have a support group. He's a good friend and supportive in that. We were all supported one another, but then just kind of like eh. But I learned,
Mhm.
but you know what? I was comfortable with that because I was going out there being social. See, this is all about what I did. Like wasn't hard for me to let go of that because
Mhm.
had already taken the action to be more social with other people and meet new friends, and by going to meetup events and stuff. I recommend like you guys go out to do meetups and stuff. I actually host them. I'm an organizer now, which is very cool. So I meet a lot of people all the time.
Mhm.
Um, but no, but yeah, because I took the action, like I just felt comfortable, and like I didn't really have to depend on him anyways, because I was still going out there, just doing my own thing, even without someone around.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it could be really hard sometimes when you've had a history with somebody like that and you've known them for a long time and maybe you've shared really like funny memories, and they're a big part of your life. Like it's hard to sometimes like move away from that person or just kind of do your own thing. But like Rob said, I mean, if you just kind of put yourself in environments that you genuinely want to be in, like somebody wants to go to the bar every weekend and maybe you'd rather go to a networking event or some kind of social event that
Hmm.
promotes positivity or business or anything like that, you're gonna find people there that have the same mentality, and like you're gonna make friends naturally just being in those environments, and talking to people. I've made a ton of connections just going to different networking events and different like chamber of commerce events. It's actually how I met my coach that's I work with right now. It was through somebody that I met in a social event, and she introduced me to him. But that would never would have happened if I didn't like put myself out there and go to an event that I genuinely thought was gonna like benefit me.
Hmm.
Just never know like where those connections could lead.
Right. No, that's true. And like I was doing that. Yeah, I remember I was doing that too. More going to networking events. I'd never go. It was weird because like I never because I was doing it more for my business stuff. I would
Hmm.
never really. I would occasionally get a referral. Like I just give out. I just actually went there just because a lot of people are trying to sell. Like there's more sales guys
Yeah.
having these events and stuff. So to me, it was just more, I'm going to go out and network. I'll get the card. Hey, pass this along to a friend, if you need it. And like,
Hmm.
I probably only got like one job from it. But then I started going to these networking events and I go out on dates.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
There's
like
there's
kind of really
there's a
just
ton of them.
change.
There's a lot of
Uh,
them like that. I mean, we're talking mostly about business, but like, there's a ton of events. Like, there's yoga classes, there's cooking classes, music classes. There's even I've seen like meetups where it's like a speed dating course where you just like
mhm.
go to a bar and you're just meeting a whole bunch of different women at once. So like you just kind of got to look and see what's out there. Like meetup.com is a great website. Um, Eventbrite is another one where it just tells you all the events kind of happening around like nearby or in your city. Um, but there's a lot of resources out there like that, you'd be surprised to find like what activities are kind of going on.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to do is like get yourself out there
Hmm.
and get involved with groups. Figure out first of all, figure out who you are and what your interests are. Go out there and
Right.
get involved with groups like that. I mean, you can
Hmm.
still go out and have fun, party and stuff. But eventually, you want to spice it up a bit. I mean, that's what I did, man. Like,
Yeah.
you just got to kind of go out there and try multiple things and just go out there and mingle with people.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I said, like summing everything up, I think the reason why we get confused when it comes to women again is like, it's from like stuff from the media that we watch, it's stuff that we hear from like, outside sources. And it's just, I think, a lack of experience of, knowing ourselves and just like going out there and kind of communicating with women because like when we I mean because like we can go out there and take the action and we're not getting anywhere and we don't realize that we just don't have the experience and we have to like build upon that experience
Hmm.
instead of letting it frustrate you and get confused and not don't listen to like you got to take into mind. You got to figure out, okay, what information is going to like serve me when I'm going out there talking to women, and what information is going to affect me negatively about women that's confuse me, and kind of filter that out. And so like once you can learn to put a filter on that, I believe that's going to help you build your mindset. But if you continue to let negative influences you know, from content creators or your friends or whoever when it comes to women, I think that's just really gonna frustrate you. And like even like you're gonna go out there, you're gonna have, experiences when you go out there that might affect your mindset and your, how women perceive you. But you gotta realize, you're just going out there and you gotta work, it's a learning experience. Like you're not
Hmm.
gonna like be some guru guy who knows it all. You're only gonna by doing nothing. You got to go out there and actually put that experience in. And then when you put that experience in, the more you're going to learn about yourself, the more you're going to learn how to communicate with women, the more you're going to learn about women, the more you're going to learn to be confident in yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, well said. I would agree. I think really at the end of all of it, audit your content consumption. Audit the people that are in your life, your friend groups, the people around you. Take note of who and what you're getting information from, because that stuff has a big effect on your mindset, your belief in yourself, your confidence, the way you carry yourself. Um, so really just be aware of the things that you are consuming, where you're getting this information. Um, and do your best to really discern, is this going to help me move forward to the kind of lifestyle I want, or is it going to lead me towards a different path? And you gotta know what it is in life that you're chasing, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And then from there you really can kind of make the best decision you can to hopefully help you lead down that path.
Right, exactly. And like one more other thing I want to add to this too is you want to have, awareness too of what it is that may be like confusing you about women. Is it like that what you heard on that from this YouTuber? Is it something that you
Hmm.
heard from your friend? Is that real? And challenge that belief in the real world, and like and learn to think, and you got to think differently about things. Because like if you continue to think that all this negative stuff about women, that's really going to frustrate the
Hmm.
hell out of you, and you're not going to get nowhere. And like I said, the only way to really get somewhere with that is just by being aware of like what's out, the stuff you're consuming, and is that good? Is that affected me in a good way or a bad way? Be aware of like what
Mhm.
other people are saying, because I have a friend like to this day, like he's when we talk, like we talk about girls and stuff, and he will say, "Oh, well, all women want our money and everything," and like that pops into my mind, like, okay, but I just learned to filter that out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great point because like there's a lot of dudes out there that'll say, "Oh, well, women are these like evil, demonic creatures that just want to lie and manipulate men, and they only want one thing. They only want money, or they only want status. They only want this or that." And I think it plays into what we were saying earlier. Like if you constantly believe that stuff, then that confirmation bias is going to come into play, and you're only going to meet women who are shallow and who only want those things, and to say, "Yep, see, I told you." Like that's all women want, because that's all you're focused on. So like, change. You got to change your mindset around what really is out there. What kind of women are out there, and you kind of expand your horizons of what um what is really possible when you change like the people that those conversations that they have, and learn to kind of like not listen to really everything that's out there because a lot of it's pretty bad advice.
Right. Well, now I got to continue this a bit longer because something else just came to mind. But some of the stuff that confused me, okay, was the way my dad or mom taught me, the way they told me I had to be for a woman and stuff, and just being all proper, being all nice, doing this and that, and I really like, and then when started doing mentoring after like I wasn't getting anywhere, like I realized, well, hey, what am I doing wrong? How can I have a different perspective? And these guys are telling me this and that. And when I go tell my dad like this, he's like, "You can't do that. You can't be honest and direct with a woman. You got to have like I say, you got to clean your car up, son, because a woman don't like a guy with a dirty car." Yet I always tell girls when I go on dates because I get them to. I have them, I have them driving my car. Sometimes I'm like, they
Hmm.
always complain about, oh, the car's a mess. I'm like, well, funny story is my dad always said you always had to have a clean car, for a girl. But I'm like, they're human like we are, man.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. Not everyone. You're not going to vibe with everyone. You're going to vibe with some. But
Hmm.
you won't figure that out unless you go out there and take the action.
Hmm. Yeah, man, 100%. Like, people can only speak really from their own experiences. And kind of like what you're saying with your dad, I mean, maybe he had uh, all of his experiences with a clean car, and that was kind of how he would go about his dating life. And that we can only really speak from our own beliefs and what has worked for us in the past. So it's valuable to go out and try different things and just get out of your comfort zone and really expand like your mindset of what is possible, because if you're always living in that one track way of this is the way things are always going to be, that can limit really your opportunity to meet really cool people, and limit your ability to expand your lifestyle a little bit.
I like what Riley just said here. Fire. If you believe that, then that's the type of woman you'll draw in.
Yeah, it's true. It's like that confirmation bias. If that's the kind of women you believe are only out there, then that's the kind of ones you're going to attract to yourself.
Right. Well, you know what? So you know what? Well, my dad's passed away, but you know what? I tell my mom sometimes when we get into talk. Sometimes we'll talk about dating and stuff. She's like, "Well, you can't do that." I'm like, "Well, mom, this isn't the 1920s anymore."
Yeah,
So
yeah, the
like
rules
it's a
totally
different
change.
generation for everyone. So you know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? I think I think see, and that's another. I think another thing too that can get have men confused because that like in every generation, I just
Right.
see like a different approach to like dating and going out there and meeting women, and it's different. I mean,
Hmm.
some of the old concepts still are the same, but it
Yeah.
made just like the fact that it's a different generation.
Hmm.
It can confuse guys. They don't know like what the hell's going on. So I mean, wouldn't
Yeah.
you agree on that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a lot of I've seen a lot of like old time YouTubers, or maybe they're little older guys, or they've been from a different generation, and they have certain advice that I'm like, yeah, that maybe that would work in like the 1970s or the 1980s before, social media was around. Um, but these days are a little bit different. These rules kind of change a little bit. The principles I think are basically the same, but there's certain things that are a little bit different nowadays. Like, if you told your family like back in the day, hey, I would meet a girl who I'd never met. I would, connect with a girl who I've never met in person through social media, like Instagram or something. They'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, that's not possible." But I mean, it's very
Hmm.
possible nowadays.
Well, yeah, and I'm seeing like, yeah, with these days, I'm gonna do a video on this soon. Like, but no, a lot of people are meeting people off the dating apps now. That's like the
Yeah,
big place. But I'm posting a video soon, where I'm gonna talk about how online dating can be bad for you, because
can be.
I think a lot of people, like, with the whole swiping thing and stuff, like if
Hmm.
they don't get swiped on, that's a lack of confidence. I think it also, there's stuff like, when it comes to like social skills too. So I'm going to be
Yep.
posting a video on that soon, because I mean it does have its pluses. Like it's interesting. I remember like back in the day, like I mean probably early 2000s, like online dating was just starting to,
Hmm.
get into the culture. I'm like, oh, cool, I can go online and meet girls. I don't have to go approach them.
Yeah.
So, and I did start. I sucked when I first started out on that, but
Hmm.
and I did my marketing test one time. Did I tell you about my marketing test I did?
I don't think so. Uh.
So like, well, I got this from remember David D'Angelo?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
he did a thing on online dating, and so one of the things he told the guys to do is set up a dummy profile and see what, to put a hot girl on there, and you'll see how many messages a hot girl gets, and then you'll see like what all the guys are saying, and then
Wow.
you kind of learn how to be different. I remember, so I did a test. I did like a super bombshell babe, and then I did one with an average looking girl. Okay, so the bombshell girl got like over 1,000 emails in 2 days.
Jeez.
1,000 emails in 2 days when I added the hot
Wow.
girl to the profile. The average looking girl where I created a fake profile, she got about probably about 200 messages within a week. But
Damn.
like the hot girl though, a lot of guys were saying, well, I got tickets to a baseball game, or I got tickets to here, I'm gonna go buy you this or buy you that.
Oh my
And
god.
they would go, and so that's what I noticed with like the hotter girls. Like guys
Mhm.
would offer to buy them a lot, like take them out to dinner or spend money on this and that, and use wealth
Yep.
as a way to attract a girl.
Mhm. Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen that in my own experiences. I knew this girl before. She was like really physically like really attractive.
Hmm.
But there was like kind of a long story, but she wasn't like very feminine, I guess you could say in a lot of ways. Like she kind of gave a strange vibe. But physically she was like a 10 out of 10. Like she was gorgeous. And
Hmm.
we were talking one day and she was telling me about this dude who doesn't even know her, but he messaged her online, said, "Honey, I'm going to take you to dinner. I'm going to like pay for everything. I just want you in my presence." It was like a 60, 70-year-old guy. And he basically wanted to
Hmm.
be her sugar daddy. Like,
That's some funny shit.
yeah, he's like, "I'll take you to dinner. I'll buy all the food. Like, I'll take care of everything. Like, all I want from you is just to go on a date with me and to keep me company." And she's like, "Should I do
Hmm.
it? Like, should I actually do it? Should I go with this guy?" I was like, I mean, I don't know. Like, you're getting a free dinner. You're getting like all this money thrown at you, but personally, I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's like some wrinkly old guy. Just who knows what he could do? Like some creepy shit. But yeah, the hotter girls though, like they get offers like that a lot.
Well, and I think now, like maybe we can do a show on this, when we do our first show next year. But I think
Mhm.
too that kind of has made. I think girls are kind of expecting that, because guys do
Right.
that now. They
Right.
expect that from guys.
Hmm. Yeah, it gets in their head and they think, "Oh, well, this happened to my friend. Like it could happen to me too," and they almost expect it.
Hmm.
Which is not isn't great.
Yes, exactly. But no, I'm gonna. Yeah, we'll have to do a show on that beginning when we do our show in January. But because I think that's a good topic to discuss. Plus I'll have the video posted by then too. But no,
Sure.
but no, definitely, I think that could like I mean, the fact that guys get frustrated on these dating apps too, because like another thing about the dating apps, and I just know this from what I've read or heard that there's more guys on these apps than girls, and a lot of the
Hmm.
girl profiles are fake and everything.
Yep.
And so some guy is going on there swiping and not getting any matches at all,
Hmm.
yeah, or again, that can maybe just lack of experience with online dating, and like there's a system about that. I'll have to do another video on that. Maybe we'll have to do a fucking show on
Yeah.
online dating. There we go. How to create the perfect.
Honestly.
So yeah, let's do that. How to create the best online dating profile. And then talk about online dating do's and don'ts for our next show. That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But like so a guy can go on there and just, without knowing what online dating is like, they would go not match, and that can just frustrate them even more. Again, it's
Hmm.
like all learning experience. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, guys, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. Everyone, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with everyone if you liked it. And any last words before we get off? Sophisticated Man, where can they find you at?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, I have my own YouTube channel as well. Just type in the Sophisticated Man. You should find me on YouTube pretty easily that way. Same with my Instagram. You just want to type in my name, Tino underscore Regano, or if you just want to type in the Sophisticated Man, you find me that way as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and thank you very much for coming on. And we'll be on here next year, guys. And then you enjoy your holidays and everything. And I got one more show coming up with Wednesday with Riley here. I'm looking forward. I'm talking to you tomorrow and doing that show with you on Wednesday. I can already tell by your activity in the comments that you will have a lot to talk about. So I'm definitely uh, looking forward to that and everything. So we'll talk to you tomorrow, Riley, and you will catch you next time.